You're listening to Stories to Create with your host, Cornell Bunting. Author, motivational speaker, and founder of ES Each Episode. Cornell sits down with inspiring voices to uncover the stories that shape who we are and who we're becoming. Get ready to listen, learn, and be inspired. The show starts now.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Yes. Welcome to another episode of Stories to Create podcast right here at EOS Club. I'm your host, Cornell Bunting. I am telling you guys the long-awaited guest is finally here. I've been telling you guys at some point we would get him in here because he's not only the people's champion, but he has been doing so much philanthropy work here in Southwest Florida. I can't just say Lee County. I'm just saying, because he's not just Fort Myers mayor. A lot of other people love him so much. And, you know, I got to tell you, before I even introduce his name to you guys, for all you guys out there that live in different parts of the world, this man has been serving the people for possibly most of his life. And so you guys will get an opportunity today to hear a little bit of the tale that goes back, way back, until where we are today, because I'm telling you guys are in for a treat. And so without further ado, guys, I want to welcome to the stage the City of Fort Myers Mayor Kevin Anderson.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Welcome to the Stories to Create podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
Oh, my goodness. This is amazing. So I got to tell you, we've wanted you on the show for a little bit now, but you've been very busy, and I got to tell you, I really admire that. You are a working mayor.
So you did the right thing, though. You got to my wife on Wednesday night, right?
I did.
And here I am on Friday.
And you hear them. Hey, you see how powerful wives are? It's amazing. Thank you very much, Miss Anderson. I am so grateful to you. And she tell me, don't worry.
Yeah.
We're going to make it happen.
So the first thing she said when she come in the door.
Yeah. Make it happen. This is good. And really only, it's just the scheduling.
Yes.
Why you haven't gotten to be on the show yet. So what we want to do with the guests, we want to take the guests back to the early years of Mr. Kevin, before the mayor, before the cop, right, before serving the people. Where was that? Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
So I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, I was the second youngest of 6 kids.
Okay. Wow.
4 boys, 2 girls.
Okay.
Our mother passed away when I was 4.
Oh.
You know, and for a 4-year-old, I think it was a little bit easier for me and my younger brother because we hadn't formed that real relationship like the older siblings.
Right.
Then I'd like to say I lost my dad when I was 8, not physically.
Right. Okay.
He remarried.
Oh, okay.
And it changed the dynamics of the family.
Okay.
But we all survived.
Yeah. Because when she left at 4, how was your dad doing? Like as that single dad?
You know, my dad was an electrician. Okay. He was a World War II vet.
Okay.
Actually, was a CB in the Navy, building airstrips on Guam.
Right.
Under fire.
Wow.
And you know, he grew up during the Depression. Mm-hmm. So my dad was a tough, hard man and a hard-working individual. Yeah. So he probably, like most men of that era, just kept that in.
Yeah.
You know, didn't and said, "Hey, life goes on.
Life goes on."
Yeah. Wow. He's got a family to raise, a family to provide for.
Yeah. So then the new mom came in. What was that like?
Well, of course, during different parts of my life, I would answer that question differently.
Right.
I actually, after the passing of my father, I came to, and he passed away in '06 at like 88 years old.
Right.
And I came to have a kind of new level of respect for her.
Okay.
But we were a close-knit family until that event.
Yeah.
And this may sound like bizarre to some people.
Yeah.
My brothers and sisters and I would be eating one meal in the kitchen.
Right.
And my father and stepmother and stepsister would be eating a whole separate meal in the dining room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I never understood that.
Right.
At certain points, I thought it was that, she had 4 kids, lost her husband.
Okay.
He worked for the town of Westport and was building a parking lot for the city. And the bulldozer hit a soft spot, flipped over, and crushed him, is the story I was told.
Right.
And so I think it was maybe a challenge for her to, having raised 3 of her 4 kids, to come in and take on 5 of my dad's 6 kids. Because my older sister was, by that time, married and out of the house. And so I think it was a real challenge.
Yeah. Wow.
And like I said, we basically raised ourselves to some degree.
Yeah.
Very fortunate that all the bad decisions we made were not too bad that we couldn't recover from them.
That's beautiful.
Okay, so none of us got addicted. None of us went to jail.
Right.
I mean, we were hellions.
Yes.
And we made poor choices, but it was a matter of survival.
Well, in that challenging time, what was school like?
So in middle school, I went to an inner city middle school.
Okay.
That was very tough.
Yeah.
You didn't wear new clothes to school because certain kids would knock you down and take your clothes from you.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was rough.
It was rough, yeah.
Wow.
I got to go in 8th grade. I got to transfer to a suburban junior high school. And it was probably the worst year of my life.
Oh, man.
I walked in, some people have heard this story. I tell that I get off the school bus.
Yeah.
And the first thing someone yelled at me was slum shoes.
Whoa.
And the reason being is I had saved, took me almost a year to save up to $20. Right. $20 was a lot of money back then.
Right, yeah.
For a pair of Converse.
Okay.
What we got was PF Keds, PF Flyers or Keds. Right. For like a third of the price of Converse. Right. And when you're an electrician back then, raising 5 kids. Right. You didn't spend $20 on a pair of tennis shoes. Right. And I wore them until they fell off my feet. Wow. Because I never knew if I was going to get another pair. Right. Now, ironically, there was a period of time where you'd pay extra money for tennis shoes that were worn. Right. Yeah, or jeans. Right. We had the holes in them because that's what we dealt with. Right. And so it was a rough year. Oh, man. They automatically labeled me as being, a poor kid from the slums. Right. Because I didn't dress like that. I see. So it was a tough year. I had bad grades. Wound up actually getting suspended, fights. And the counselor, I remember at the end of the year, telling my father, it might be better if Kevin looked at a different school next year. Oh, man. So I wound up at a state-run technical school. Okay. A block away from the inner city middle school. Oh, my goodness. But I flourished. Right. I got good grades. Yeah. Was actually the president of the National Honor Society. Okay. Yeah. That's amazing. And, of course, here's another thing that happened during that period of time. I met a friend of mine, and we're still friends, on the CB radio. Oh, okay. They were very popular back then. Right. And we became friends. He talked me into he tried to talk me into going to a Police Explorer meeting. Okay. At that point in my life, I had no respect for authority. No? And this was in your early teens? Yeah. Well, of course, this is in the 70s. We're just coming off Vietnam. Oh, yes. We had the riots years ago in 68. Right. And there was that anti-establishment feeling going on. Yeah. And it's very easy. And that's what I would say to kids today. don't let other people define you like that.
Right.
Don't get caught up in this.
Yes.
I did.
Yeah. Right.
Luckily, I survived it.
Yeah.
But, define your goals, your successes, who you want to be. Don't let other people, unless they're influencing you in a positive way.
Right.
But don't let the negativity of people define who you're going to be.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I was in Baskin Robbins talking to this girl. I said, hey, what are you doing when you get off work? And she says, I'm going to a Police Explorer meeting. And I smiled and said, I've always wanted to go.
Because you wanted to really hang out with her.
Boy, you're quick. So I showed up and she didn't.
Oh, no.
And as I like to joke,
Yeah.
that was the first of many times that would happen in my life.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the police sergeant, Ed Riley,
Yeah.
big Irish guy.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe how caring this guy was. And immediately I said, boy, this guy is really committed to this community. It's not about being a police officer in power and being able to arrest people. It wasn't about that. It was about serving the community.
Yeah.
And I joined.
Yeah.
And my friend Chris, he went off to college.
Right.
He went to prep school.
Right.
All right. I went to a state school.
Yeah.
He went off to college. I went to the Army. He joined the police department there. I came down here, joined the police department down here.
Oh, nice.
He actually retired about 3 years ago now as chief.
Right.
I retired from Fort Myers as the number 2 guy. They called it a major back then.
Right.
Now would be a deputy chief.
Right.
So it changed the trajectory of my life. So I went right in the Army after high school.
Oh, okay.
To be a military policeman, hoping that would help build that foundation for when I turned 21, I could apply to be a police officer somewhere.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Every young person carries a story of hope, of struggle, of dreams waiting to rise. But in too many underserved communities, those stories go unheard.
At ease, Inc. Everyone has a story. We believe every voice deserves a chance through mentorship, empowering programs, and storytelling workshops. We help youth discover their purpose, strengthen their mindset, and build a future they can be proud of.
From classrooms in Jamaica to communities across Southwest Florida.
ES is changing lives,
one story at a time.
but we can't do it alone. Join us, become a mentor, volunteer, donate, help us fuel the next generation of leaders, creators, and change makers.
Visit ahazink.org today, because when you help a young person share their story, you help them change their world.
So you going into the military as a policeman, because that had to be very different than, working in like communities and stuff.
Very different, yes.
But you had to be more structured.
Oh, very much. And of course, what I learned in those 3 years was a sense of discipline.
Right.
Which really has helped me throughout life.
Yeah.
I was very undisciplined because, like I said, from age 8, I pretty much grew up parentless.
Right. So you still was kind of searching for
Sure.
like a mentor and all that stuff. So when you completed your 3 years in the military, what was the next move?
I came to Fort Myers.
Okay.
My family, brothers and sisters, had started to migrate down here.
Okay.
So I followed them.
Okay.
There was different opportunities here
Right.
than up in Connecticut.
Right.
For example, when my friend applied for the police department up there, I think he said there was 300 people applied for like 1 or 2 positions.
Wow.
I applied for the police department down here, and there's 20 of us going for 4 positions.
Wow.
So,
A big
greater odds,
difference. Yeah.
And of course, Fort Myers Police Department back then, you got, points for being a veteran.
Right.
which helped. So I started my law enforcement career here.
Awesome.
Was blessed. I had 4 years on when the major of operations called me in early one morning by surprise.
Right.
Of course, I thought I was going to get fired for doing something.
Yeah.
When a man in that position or a person in that position
Right.
calls you in unexpectedly first thing in the morning, it's usually not good.
Right.
But what it was, he said, "Hey, we're going to put 3 officers in the schools."
Okay.
And I said, "Yeah, that's probably a good thing to do."
Yeah.
He said, "Good, you're one of them." And I actually tried to talk him out of it.
Right. Wow.
I just didn't think that was for me.
Right.
And he said, "Kevin, you don't understand. The chief is looking at you."
Right.
And I said, I'm smart enough to say, "Okay, I
Yeah.
get that."
Right.
And I asked him, I says, "If I don't like it after a year, can I come back and patrol?"
Right.
And he said, "Absolutely."
Okay.
Well, I stayed there 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Best 5 years of my career.
Wow.
Working in the schools, working with kids in a positive manner.
Right.
I mean, there was negative situations,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
But for the most part, it was really working to try and help them be better citizens, help them not get in trouble,
Right.
steering them away from those poor decisions.
Right.
Then by that time, the major had become chief,
Okay.
and he asked me to develop a program that would address juvenile crime.
Okay.
And so I went from working in a good way to being a strong enforcer, because what we did was we targeted the worst of the worst kids.
Okay.
And it was hard for me at first, but I understood the necessity. If you keep ignoring those bad players,
Right.
and they're continuously committing crime, and they're attracting others.
Right.
So by getting them incarcerated,
Right.
in the 3 years I did that, juvenile crime went down 24%.
That's amazing.
And so hopefully we deterred other kids from making those poor decisions because they saw there was a consequence.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm both proud of the work I did there,
Right.
and also not so proud at times, because I was responsible for 115 juveniles getting transferred to the adult system.
Okay.
But these were bad kids. These were, aggravated assault, rape, rap sheets, as long as your arm.
Yeah.
These were bad kids.
You feel like because you had so many kids, the environment that they were in at that time, how was the community? Like, what was that like?
So, obviously, the community has mixed feelings when you do things. Some people in the community are, wow, great, someone's doing something to protect us from these bad kids.
Right.
Other people take the side of the kids and saying, they're just kids.
Right. Right.
Yeah, they are just kids, but they're kids doing really bad things.
Right.
And then, of course, you've got people who try to make it a racial issue.
Right.
Oh, well, you had, of the 115 kids, the majority of them were minority versus non-minority.
Right.
And what's hard to make people understand is the environment kids come out of. So whether you're a minority or not, if you're coming from a bad environment,
right,
and there's no real support,
right,
then you're going to wind up in the system.
Right, right.
Whereas if you're coming out of an environment where, you got a stable home life,
right,
you're attending school, you got parents who are concerned and they're going to deal with this situation,
right,
versus, oh, well, that's him,
right.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You getting an opportunity to really learn how to be a man at a young age because of when you went into the Army as the police officer.
That's funny you say that, because I don't feel like I really embraced manhood until I met my wife.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I always, in my mind, I always thought I had a degree of immaturity.
Okay.
And it might have been because I didn't really have strong male figures.
Right, right.
They were there, but not as a constant.
Right.
I mean, my uncle, who was married to my dad's sister, she's 92 years old. and last person of that generation in our family,
Right.
Last family member, I should say. And I mean, to this day, I call him frequently. I have the utmost respect and love for him.
Right.
He was a Navy vet, 20 some years. But that was an in and out because he was in the Navy.
Right.
So I didn't have the constant.
You didn't have the consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when I became a father,
Right.
that's a whole, as you know,
Right.
different
Oh, yeah.
level
Oh,
of
yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah.
It's not, you get married.
Right.
So it's no longer you're just taking care of yourself.
Right.
There's a partnership there.
Right.
And then you become parents.
Right.
And wow, that's a whole different level of responsibility.
When you met your wife, did you look at her and said, she's going to be the woman for me? Like, this is it.
So, and this goes back to that degree of immaturity.
Right.
I have a nephew who's almost my age.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
he was like 6 years younger.
Right.
So Bill was dating this girl.
Okay.
And my wife was friends with her.
Oh, okay.
And so they brought her over to meet me.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm sitting there watching one of my favorite shows of the time, Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, okay.
So I really didn't pay her the respect or attention that I should have.
Right.
And so she basically said, well, I'm leaving.
Oh, no. So she left?
And so I ran after her.
Okay.
And say, hey, I'm sorry. Bad timing. How about Saturday night? They'd like to go to dinner and a movie.
Right.
And she went out. She agreed.
Yeah.
And we went out to dinner and a movie. And I dropped her off at her house. And she'll tell you the story that she went in the house and her mother's like, hey, how'd it go? And she says, that's the guy I'm going to marry.
Wow.
Yeah. And a year later we were married. And now we're celebrating 37 years.
Oh my goodness. That is amazing, man. That is.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you guys all out there, just so you know, she's an amazing woman. So definitely see how that definitely worked. That was beautiful. And you put in the work. But deciding to leave the school after 5 years, how did you feel going now back into what you were desiring at first?
So the chief, pretty well said, look, you can't stay there.
Right.
Your career is not going to advance.
Right.
You stay there.
Right.
And so he gave me the opportunity to be a detective and do the habitual juvenile offenders. And from there, I made sergeant and eventually lieutenant, captain, up to major. And he was right.
Yeah.
I could have been comfortable the rest of my career there.
Right.
But it wouldn't have gone anywhere.
And
then I often think, how many years would it have been before I became complacent and just wasn't as effective?
Right.
Because each year that went by was one more year between the students and myself, age-wise.
Right.
I think I was 24 when I started.
Right.
And I could relate to the high school kids still.
Right.
And then when I left, I was 29, 30, whatever.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a bigger gap.
Yeah. Wow. Now, you had gotten to interact with a lot of different individuals in different communities. And I know back then, because now we're looking in the early 90s with everything that was going on in the country, where would you feel was your most challenging part of working out in the field?
It's frustrating when you're out there, and I think this applies to an overwhelming majority of our law enforcement officers.
Right.
They're in a tough position.
Right.
We don't make the laws.
Right.
We take an oath to uphold the laws.
Yes.
Even if they're not popular.
Right.
And of course, in the 90s, crack cocaine.
Yeah.
The drug wars. It was a turbulent time.
Right.
Rodney King.
Yeah.
And I think, the Fort Myers Police Department, I think we responded in a good way.
Right.
What we did was we reached out to black leaders.
Okay.
And we paired them up in a police car.
Oh, nice.
So, in fact, I had James Middlebrooks with me.
You did?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
And I, another person in this community I have the utmost respect for. What a great guy.
Right.
Who's given back so much to help
definitely.
young people succeed.
Yeah.
So Dr. Middlebrooks was with me. And of course, the whole concept was that if we showed up at a scene,
right,
that community leader can help maybe.
Right.
But we had a relatively calm couple of nights.
Okay.
I think, there's a couple dumpster fires, but there was no real violence.
Right.
And I think that's a credit to the leadership at the time to try to be proactive versus reactive. Right. And I believe that we have that today with Chief Fields as well.
Right. Yes.
He's people talk about seeing me out in the community.
Right.
Well, almost everywhere I go, guess who I see?
You see
Chief Fields. Yeah. I mean, it may not be every single event.
Right.
But if he's not there, then there's usually some representation from the police leadership, which I think is just great. It gives people that opportunity to not just see the chief on the news or at a council meeting, but to actually walk up and engage him in conversation.
Right. Now, as you move up in ranks in the force in that time, what was the relationship like with the siblings?
Like a lot of families, we grow apart.
Right.
One of my sisters wound up moving to Tennessee. Okay. Another brother was, he bounced around. He's landed outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
My other brothers here, like my younger brother, my mother-in-law says, a daughter's a daughter for life.
Right.
A son's a son till he takes a wife.
Yeah.
And I saw that with myself as well, that I gravitated, didn't ignore my family still, but more so with Krista and her family.
Yes. I like that.
And then, of course, as our kids grow up and then we become grandparents, whatnot, you tend to come back around.
Right. Yeah. Was it scary for you when you found out from Krista that she was pregnant? Was that scary for you, like your first time knowing you're gonna now be a dad?
I think it was more excitement.
Oh yeah,
yeah, more excitement. My older sister had 5 boys by that time.
Okay.
My other sister had 2 girls. My other brother had 3 boys. My other brother had 2 girls.
So you was ready.
I was, So it was like, okay, finally I'm gonna, I'd like to say I've had a lot of titles in my life.
Right.
And father.
That's a big title.
But now granddaddy's a big title.
That's a big title too. Yeah.
And the other title that I've learned to embrace that for years I didn't was veteran. I always just felt like, you know what? It was a thing. I was in the Army, did my time for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then I moved on.
Right.
I was fortunate enough to serve in peacetime, although I was stationed in Panama when the canal negotiations were going.
When that was going
on. And that could have been. That could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Luckily, it didn't. So it wasn't until probably after I retired from the police department that I recognized that I earned that title. And regardless of the fact that I only served in peacetime, that peacetime could have ended at any time.
Right.
And I would have been there to serve regardless. And it was other vets, other veterans who, when I would say, oh, you're a vet? Yeah, thanks for your service. And I'm talking to vets who saw action.
Right.
And I'm like, no, man. I was a military policeman in Panama and Fort Bragg,
Right.
You were over in Iraq or wherever.
Right.
Or the older ones in Vietnam. And I'm like, no, you guys. And they would say, no, you served.
Right. Yeah.
And so I've embraced that. And I'm actually trying to do some things to make Fort Myers a more veteran-friendly community.
I like that. If you was to think back on a day, when people say life of a cop out there, that was your most challenging day. That no matter what solution you came up with, it wasn't really the solution.
There's so many of them, but there's 2 incidents that I think about a lot of times. One in my very early years on the department, probably my first year, and the other one after I had made sergeant. And the one was a burglary suspect I got in a chase with.
Right.
Knocked down, drag out fight. I mean, this guy was not wanting to be arrested.
Wow.
And then later on, we turned out he was on the PCP.
Oh, man.
He literally was running and fighting with a broken ankle.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was, and we, at one point, he almost disarmed another officer.
Oh, no.
And had, they're fighting over the gun. He had to point it at me.
Oh, man.
We were able to get him subdued.
Right.
And the third officer shows up. He grabs him to pick him up, and I grab his Kel light.
Okay.
Which is a 7-cell metal flashlight.
Right.
And I was so worked up and so angry.
Yeah.
I was going to hit the guy.
Right.
And I have to thank God intervened.
Yeah.
Because what happened at that point was I threw up.
Oh, my goodness.
I threw up, and that stopped me.
You threw up? Wow.
Well, it was 7 o'clock in the morning. 7:15 is when the call came in.
Right.
I just ate a sausage biscuit and a half a large cup of coffee, and so all that adrenaline.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
I really like to think it was God's way
Yeah.
to stop me
from making.
And I'm not a violent person.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, I just looked down at a gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it turned out this guy was an escapee from prison.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
So that, I never forgot that.
Right.
And I always use that to kind of say, it's easy to step over that line. You got to control your emotions.
Yeah.
And I would share that with younger officers as I moved up the ranks.
Right.
But, and so when I see officers lose that.
Right.
And they're not necessarily a bad officer.
Right.
But, you're in a situation.
Yeah.
The other one was Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on a side street watching traffic on McGregor. And a call came in about some kids who had just driven by the Edison home.
Right.
And waving a gun.
Ooh.
So they had a tag number. I knew exactly where the address was because I knew who lived there.
Okay.
Because of my days in the schools.
Right.
So I come pulling up, and there's the car. They're playing basketball in the driveway. Knew them all.
Yeah.
Right? And hey, okay. They used to call me okay for Officer Kevin.
Yeah.
And I walk over to the car, and there on the floorboard is a gun.
Oh, man.
And I open door, get the gun.
Yeah.
It's a pellet gun.
Wow.
And by that time, another officer had pulled up to assist, and I was telling them, I said, guys, do you realize if I had stopped you before you got here, or another officer had stopped you, they would have had guns drawn.
Yeah.
This would have been a serious event.
Right.
And it could have turned out very bad.
Yeah.
You use your heads.
Yeah.
Well, this was right down around the corner from the hamlet.
Right.
And we got a call for a drowning. Now, my daughter was like 2 years old at this time.
Right.
And there was two or three kids in the Southwest Florida area had drowned in like the past year.
Wow.
And I, automatically, I thought about my daughter.
Right.
And my heart just dropped to my stomach, and I felt sick like, my God, please don't be a kid.
Yeah.
Well, we were close.
Right.
And right around the corner, somebody had just pulled a 43-year-old man out of the pool.
Oh, man.
And we started CPR. Fire department got there. They took over. I had pulled the son aside. He was 15 years old.
Right.
The man's wife and son and daughter were there. And I pulled him aside and I said to him, look, this does not look good.
Right.
I'm sorry, son, but this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
You're going to need to be strong for your mom and sister.
Yeah.
You got to be the man here.
Right.
Luckily, the guy recovered.
Wow.
And it was due to our quickness in doing the CPR.
Yeah.
And I would love to run into that kid and say, hey, man, sorry I put you in that position.
You had to give him that speech.
Yeah, well, it was, I was just trying to bolster him up for what was coming.
Right,
and luckily it didn't come.
Wow.
So, you could see from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
I look back at some people who have arrested, and their lives just never turned out well after that. And I question myself, could something have been done?
Right.
But then I also look at people who I have arrested that come up to me.
Yeah.
And, it's an odd feeling when you're in the grocery store and there's somebody eyeballing you.
Yeah.
You know, as a former police officer, and you're like, first thing that comes through your mind is, okay, bad encounter, good encounter, what is it?
Right.
But then have people who I've arrested say, you know what, thank you.
Yeah.
That made me see the light.
Yeah.
Or you didn't treat me disrespectful.
Right.
Even though I broke the law, you treated me with respect.
That's beautiful, man. So leading up to you retiring from the police force, in your head, what was you thinking you were going to be doing next?
Well, an opportunity came up to go to work at Chico's.
Okay.
2 years prior, the CEO offered me a position. He said, I'm starting a security department.
Okay.
Why don't you come run it?
Right.
And I wasn't ready to leave law enforcement.
Right.
2 years later, the position was open again, and somebody brought it to my attention. And I talked with Krista, and she says, maybe it's time.
Yeah.
And I had, a nice 15-year career at Chico's. I left because I had gotten elected to the council.
Right.
And I wanted to focus on being a councilperson.
Right.
And I, because a lot of my time at Chico's, I'm thinking about city work.
Right.
And that's not necessarily fair to Chico's.
Right. So you decided so after 15 years, the move was right.
And ironically, my nickname at Chico's was the mayor.
The mayor. Oh my God.
In fact, my last boss put that in my evaluation.
That's amazing.
He's affectionately known as the mayor.
That is amazing.
And that's because I had that, back to Sergeant Riley.
Right.
What he not necessarily taught me, but what he helped me bring out of myself,
right,
which was already there, I just didn't know it, was a servant's heart.
Right.
And he helped me develop that.
Nice.
And so that's even at Chico's. I had a servant's heart. Somebody needed help with something, I helped.
Yeah.
It came from, 20-some years in law enforcement.
Right.
Trying to help.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was a bittersweet decision.
Right.
I hated to walk away, but in my heart, when I prayed about it, I really felt like, it had been, 2 years prior that I didn't get the chief's position.
Right.
And, they say, guy closes a door, he opens another.
Yes.
And so I really had to think that this was the door.
Right.
That for whatever reason, I wasn't meant to be the chief.
Right.
And he made sure that door didn't open.
Right.
And he opened that one.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, in council, because obviously that mayor seat was planted without you even thinking about. Because you wasn't even thinking about becoming a mayor yet.
In fact, I wasn't even supposed to be a council person.
Wow.
The odds were in favor of somebody else.
Right.
But I worked.
Yeah.
And I think my career on the police department made a difference as well.
Right.
But I remember the city attorney telling me, he says, your win the day after the election, he says, your win yesterday, that's huge.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't really think. He said, well, you went against the established crowd.
Right.
And you won.
Right.
He says, you're going to be mayor someday. And I'm like, I have no desire to be mayor. I mean, that was not my goal.
Right.
However, when the prior mayor said he was going to run for Congress. Yeah.
Right.
And then, a name started to surface who I just thought wouldn't be a good candidate as mayor.
Right.
And I felt that I could be a better.
Yeah.
And the people thought so.
Oh, yeah. And I got to tell you, because I was good friends with, I'm good friends with Randy, but that was one of the very thing when he called me, because at the time I was still doing a lot of traveling with the books and stuff, and he said, my friend's going to be running for mayor, and I want you to get behind him and get to know who he is. And so it was beautiful. It was a nice intro, and getting to meet you in person and seeing who you were. That was beautiful.
I think that I have surprised a lot of people.
You have, yeah.
That they really didn't think I meant what I said.
Right.
When I said, I want to be the mayor of Fort Myers, all of Fort Myers.
Right.
And I meant that.
Oh, yeah.
When I served as a police officer, I tried to serve all of Fort Myers.
Right.
So I think people are pleasantly surprised.
Well,
I think
you got to think too. A lot of these type of individuals have made promise that they never kept, and I think they were possibly looking at
sure.
That.
And I knew that.
Right.
Keep in mind, when I started with the police department in 1979,
right,
you had Dunbar was like a separate city.
Right.
But even more so, Dunbar itself was split because half was county,
right,
unincorporated.
Oh, okay.
And then the other half was incorporated. And then maybe not half, but
right.
it was, which the city finally, stepped up and incorporated that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've watched
mm-hmm.
the city progress, and in Dunbar, a lot of good things have happened.
Right.
But I know there's a lot of things that were promised that never happened.
Right.
And so I don't promise people I'm going to make this happen.
Right.
What I promise them is I'm going to give everything I have to try and make it happen.
Right.
And I think people appreciate that approach.
Right.
Yeah, I had an older black lady come up to me at an event, and it was very humbling.
Yeah.
Because she said, I don't like you.
She did. Wow. Just like that.
Yeah. And so I smiled.
Yeah.
And I said, well, ma'am, you're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you're in this job, people like and dislike politicians for some of the strangest reasons.
Right.
Sometimes they have a reason. Well, you lied to me. You said this and you didn't do it or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, but then she said, but I like you as our mayor.
Wow.
And it really was humbling.
That's beautiful.
And I thought, why can't the rest of the country see that?
Right.
You don't have to like this person as an individual.
Right.
But you can respect them for the job they're doing.
Yeah. And I got to tell you do. I don't think any institution, organization could say if you're available and they reach out to you, you show up.
I take the attitude that if it's important enough to be invited,
mm-hmm.
it should be important enough for me to attend.
I like that.
Now, it gets hard at times.
Yes.
If obviously, Chris and I last year, we started the year off saying we have got to take more time for ourselves.
Right.
Because I go nonstop.
Right.
She's with me a lot of the time.
Yes.
And so we started taking more long weekends.
Right.
We like to cruise, so we started taking more cruises.
Beautiful.
Florida State's playing Georgia Tech in Dublin.
Nice.
So we're going.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
And we have to have that time for ourselves.
Yeah, you do.
And I find myself coming back rejuvenated,
mm-hmm.
energized.
Yeah.
And the other thing, here's the reality. We're a city manager form of government.
Right.
Nothing's going to happen that can't be addressed if I'm not there.
Right. That's just true.
It's like the hurricane. Right. I didn't necessarily need to be here. I was here for the hurricane. I didn't need to be here.
Right.
The hurricane was going to hit us, whether I was in town or not.
Yeah,
and the recovery was going to happen whether I was in. But I chose to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, a lot of times something will come up and we've got plans I can't attend. Right. Or, for example, in October, there's the 100-year anniversary of Henderson Franklin.
Right.
There's the Cattle Barons Ball.
Wow.
And there's the Law and Order Ball.
Right. Wow.
I was committed to doing a proclamation for Henderson Franklin.
Right.
And which breaks my heart because I like to go to Law and Order Ball to show my support for our law enforcement officers. Yeah. But one's at the Edison Home, one's at Hertz Arena, one's at Suncoast Arena.
In the middle, yeah.
Yeah, so they're not really, they're all at the same time.
Right.
So in this case, I just there's two of them I'm not going to be able to go
You're
to.
not gonna be
But
able-
there's a
yeah.
lot of times what I do is I go here, I spend a little time,
Then
I'll
you
pop
leave.
over somewhere else,
Right.
spend a little time, pop over to another thing, and try to make sure I hit as many as I can
Right.
to at least show the support.
That is beautiful. Why you think it's hard for individuals, like yourself, that goes into government? They make a speech on what they want to do, but then when they get in there, they say they run into these roadblocks.
So I think what it is when you're out on the outside looking in,
Right,
you see things differently.
right,
And so when you talk about campaign promises,
right,
I think most politicians mean what they're saying.
right,
Then they find out it can't be done for a variety of reasons. I learned that when I got on the council.
right.
I just lost the thought.
That's
which
okay.
happens at
That's
my
okay.
age.
Yeah.
But like I used to say, if business moved at the speed of government,
Right.
we'd all be bankrupt.
Or we'd be in a bad place. Yeah.
Now that I'm in the middle of it, I understand why
Right.
it moves slow at times.
Right.
Because we're making big decisions.
Right.
The decision on the water treatment plant expansion,
Right.
$78 million. That's
Yeah.
a big decision.
Right.
That's a financial decision that doesn't just impact our current citizens,
Right.
but it impacts citizens for generations,
Right.
for decades.
Right.
Because, for 30 years, we're going to be paying off that bond.
Right.
So when we need to make sure that we do our due diligence, that we're very thorough in investigating, looking at all the options and the facts,
Right.
so that when we make a decision, it's not just the right decision today, but it's the right decision in 10, 20, 30 years.
Right.
We don't want our solution to a problem today to become tomorrow's problem.
I like that.
Yeah, but
I like that.
you can only deal with the facts and the information you have in front of you.
Right.
I wish we could see into the future
Right.
and say, oh, wow, there's going to be another real estate bust in 2029. We better start planning.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
It don't work like that.
I wish it did. But.
Some would say individuals don't necessarily pay attention to government when the meetings are happening to really understand what they need to get addressed. Why you think individuals struggle in those areas?
For some people, it's a matter of really trying to understand the process.
Right.
It's a very complicated, complex, convoluted process at times.
Right. Right.
Sometimes they're just so busy with life,
Right.
they don't really have time
Yeah.
to pay attention. I have to go back to when I campaigned for council.
Right.
The very first door I knocked on,
Yeah.
and I introduced myself, and the response was, "Don't waste your time.
Wow.
I'm voting for the dark-haired lady."
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, how is that going to be on the ballot? Right? Because they don't put a physical description.
Right.
And the person didn't even want to hear my views on things. Well, subsequently, about 10 doors down the road, I knock on the door, and the gentleman says, "You used to be a police officer."
Yeah.
And I smiled. I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "I'm voting for you."
Beautiful.
I said, "Thank you."
Yeah.
I said, "Here's my information," and I moved on to the next house.
That's awesome.
What I wanted to say to him, though, was,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that's not the reason to vote for me. Just because I was a police officer does not mean I'll be a good
Right.
representative of the people.
Right.
Here are the reasons I think you should vote for me.
Right.
So I think people are just so uninformed, misinformed.
Right.
They're so involved with life, they don't really pay attention.
Right.
Look on the national level where I don't want to say simple,
Right.
but an issue like abortion,
Right.
people will choose a candidate based on their stance on abortion,
Right.
which is, I'm not saying it's not important,
Right.
but what about national security?
Right.
What about the economy?
Right.
What about crime?
Right.
Inflation?
Right.
Poverty? All these other issues.
That are
They're
bigger.
so important.
Right. Well, yes.
And probably affect more people
Right.
than abortion does.
Is you in local government seeing at the bigger level with everything else that's going on and people are maybe concerned or, scared a little bit because they don't know what they voted for is going to happen because they don't understand the structure of the bigger.
Right. It's not as complicated. It's still complicated on the local level.
Right.
But see, here's what I like about the local level. And I like my current position because it's nonpartisan.
Right.
And so I don't have to kowtow to either party.
Right.
My efforts are toward the public.
Right.
The people of Fort Myers.
Yeah.
I don't have to please the party.
Right.
And sometimes I think that could be a problem.
Yeah.
But at this level, this is where government is closest to the people.
Right.
You can have a conversation with your mayor in the grocery store.
Right. Yep.
Or at church.
Yeah.
Or maybe even at your kid's school.
Right.
Or at the theater.
Right.
In the mall, any number of places.
Right.
You can pick up the phone and usually get in touch or write an email.
Right.
And get a response. I mean, with me, you will.
Right. Yes.
But on the local level, that should be with all the elected officials because we're that close to the people.
Right. There was a time when we were going through major concern with the police and the profiling and what that looked like with people not understanding what was going on. What was your take on when that was happening? And
So profiling in and of itself is not necessarily a bad tool for the police.
Right.
It's when it's not used properly, when it's abused.
Right.
And any tool that the police have can be abused.
Right.
They can run your license plate.
Right. Yeah.
And they can run it for the wrong reason.
Right.
Not necessarily for a law enforcement reason.
Right.
So when you look at the city of Fort Myers, 12 years ago, we were somewhere around the 17th most dangerous city of our size.
Wow.
Now we're the third safest.
That's awesome.
Now that has come with a lot of investment in technology. Our technology for the police is state of the art.
Right.
It's a big investment, but it's paying off.
Right.
It comes with leadership that stress professionalism and accountability.
Right.
Now it's very hard, or it's challenging, I should say, at times, because in Florida, in statute, there's the Police Officers' Bill of Rights.
Right.
And it's designed so that police should not be afraid to do their job.
Right.
They should be afraid of doing their job wrong,
right,
inappropriately,
right,
but they should not be afraid of doing their job.
Right.
As much as we screen people we hire on the police department, until you hire them and put them to work,
right.
And there's a 1-year probationary period.
Okay.
Once they're off probation, and they've got a lot more safeguards.
Right.
And most of them during that first year, they're trying hard to say, "Look, I'm a good hire."
Right.
And then once they're off probation, they could
they could change.
They can change. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's and that's where supervision, leadership, and supervision are critical. I actually wrote a paper for the Southern Police Institute on the 3 most important things a chief of police can do.
Right.
First thing is who they hire.
Right.
Hire the right people.
Yeah.
Have a very rigorous, thorough background process. Do your best to eliminate those won't be good officers.
Right.
No, there's no guarantees.
Right.
The next thing is how you train them.
Right.
And the training has to be ongoing. It's got to be relevant. It's got to be up to date.
Right. You
can't just say, "Here, you're trained, and that's good for the rest of your career."
Right.
No, it's got to be reinforced. And think about it. Police do a lot of training in de-escalation and deadly force.
Yes. Yes.
The public probably would be amazed at the amount of training that goes into that.
Right.
The crisis intervention techniques, all of that to try and prevent things from happening. But sometimes police have to respond the way they're trained.
Right.
And then the third thing, and one of the most important things, or they're all very important, is who you promote to supervise.
Yeah.
Because those supervisors are there observing the officers.
Right.
And if you have good supervisors who can say, okay, I'm no longer your partner.
Right.
I am now your supervisor.
Right.
I have different responsibilities.
Yes. Yes.
They expect different things from me now.
Right.
And it's not a matter of being in power over somebody, having that authority. It's actually about making the officers that work for you successful.
Right.
Because if they're doing a great job and they're successful,
right,
then you're successful.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah. And so it means, even if it's your buddy, it means if he or she steps out of line, that you pull them aside.
Right.
And you make sure they understand that's not what's expected of them. Here's what's expected. And if consequences are necessary.
Right.
And it's just like with raising kids.
Right. Yeah.
Right. When your kids are misbehaving.
Yeah.
When you look at discipline.
Right. Right.
Discipline is about changing or modifying a behavior.
That's just true. Yes.
Stop doing that. You're not supposed to be doing it. Or do this. This is something you're supposed to be doing.
Right. Right.
You know, whether it's cleaning your room.
Right.
Or going to school, whatever it is.
Right.
With a police officer, turning your reports in, whatever, any number of things. So it's not about punishment.
Right.
It's about discipline.
Right.
Changing or modifying the behavior.
I like that.
Right. And if it's just punishment, I liken it to you call a handyman because your faucet's leaking.
Right.
And the only thing he shows up with is a hammer.
Right.
You're not going to get good results.
It ain't going to get.
So if all you know how to do with your children is punish them, and not discipline them, because the root of discipline is disciple or teacher, trainer.
Yeah.
So that's our job as supervisors and as parents.
Right.
We want to teach our kids.
Right.
We want to teach those who work for us how to be successful in what they're doing.
Some would say your workload is a lot. You have an assistant, but a lot of times when individuals see you, they see your wife, Krista. How much does she help? How much involvement does she?
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, when I decided to run for office, it was a conversation we had.
Okay.
And she knows my love of this community.
Right.
She knows that I have a servant's heart.
Right.
And she knew that I would be good.
Okay.
That I could do a good job.
Right.
So, she goes to a lot of events with me. She's go to a lot of events with me at the police department.
Right.
And when I retired and went to work at Chico's, and I was in a position where I had to represent the Chico's at different events, and I would always tell her it was totally up to you.
Yeah.
I told you when I retired from the police department, you're no longer obligated to go to events with me.
Yeah.
But when I got elected to office, she jumped right back in and said, no, it's good for me to be seen with you.
Yes.
For people to see us together.
Yes.
And she enjoys that. And she enjoys interacting with the people too.
Yes.
And I'll tell you this, what she really enjoys, if we go to something like at Clementi Park and they're serving food,
right?
You know what she does?
Yeah.
She grabs an apron, the gloves,
wow,
a hat, and she gets behind there.
She gets
right in there with the women who are serving.
That's amazing.
Or the people who are serving. Most of the time it's women, but and she jumps right in. And I mean, she's a big believer that good things happen around food.
I like that. Now, we want your take, and I've had the individual reach out to me and say, make sure you ask the mayor this question. I'm like, I don't know what he's going to say, but politics and the church. What is the challenge between the both worlds not really coming together and seeing eye to eye in a fitting way?
So I believe that separation of church and state was meant to protect the church from the state, not the state from the church.
Okay.
I believe our founding fathers wanted the church to be involved.
Right.
That they knew that the church, regardless of which church,
right,
that it could be a guiding light for them.
Right.
If you look back, when we took prayer out of the schools, you could see a pattern.
Yeah. Yeah.
families, the destruction, the breakdown of families.
Yeah.
You remember divorce wasn't really a government issue. It was more of a church issue.
Right.
And then it became a government.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, you want to get divorced? Get divorced.
Right.
I'm proud to say my oldest brother and sister, my oldest sister and her husband, before they passed, were married 50-some years.
Wow. Yeah.
My next oldest brother and his wife are in 40-plus years.
Right.
Krista and I are in approaching
30s.
40 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we made that commitment. Has it always been easy? No.
Right.
But, relationships are challenging.
Right. Right.
But you work through them.
Right.
So, but you see the breakdown of the families.
Yeah.
You see the number of children being born out of wedlock.
Right.
The increase in drug and substance abuse.
Right.
Alcoholism. I personally think that God needs to be in our lives.
Yes.
And I could tell you, there was a period of time when I never quit believing in God.
Right.
I was raised Catholic.
Right.
But I never quit believing in God. I quit believing in going to church for a while.
Right.
And I questioned God.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
It wasn't until my teenage years that I really, it sunk in that I lost my mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, the struggles and all that, and then there come a point in my life when I look back on those darkest days,
right,
when I thought I was walking through the darkness alone.
Yeah.
No.
You wasn't.
No. And there's a poem, Footprints in the Sand.
Yes.
And it really...
next set of footprints in the sand.
Yes.
Yes.
Here that person thinks it was their footprint,
right,
when it was really God's footprint carrying them.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I like that. You, with the state of our country right now, not to dive into what's going on the bigger scale, you think we'll get to a place where people feel at ease?
I don't know if we'll ever return to a point where we're at ease. And if you look back through history, were we ever at a point where we were at ease?
You know what? You're right.
There was always struggles and turmoil and, political infighting. I think it's more, it seems like it's more in that it's worse because, one, we have a bigger population.
Right.
The issues are much different.
Right.
And plus, like during Vietnam,
right,
if you saw footage of fighting going on in Vietnam, it was probably 2 or 3 days old.
Right.
Now, you see it live.
Right, as it's going.
You see things happening live.
Yeah.
And I think it's sad that the entertainment industry,
right,
which in my mind includes professional sports,
right,
video games, that they have really desensitized a generation.
Yeah.
You look at, go back to I Love Lucy.
Right.
Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah.
Shows like that.
Right.
When they showed the bedroom,
right,
it was 2 separate beds.
Right.
They were fully clothed.
Yeah.
And usually probably had a sheet or comforter over
right.
them. Now you watch a movie and there's a bedroom scene.
Yeah.
And it's steamy. And it's like soft porn.
Right. Right.
And violence, the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You play a game where you could blow things up.
Yeah.
And even you get blown up, but guess what? You're right there to reset and go for the next game.
Right, right.
So I think it's really sad the way we've desensitized people to really respecting each other.
Right.
And in some cases, respecting themselves.
Right.
And if you don't respect yourself, you probably can't respect other people.
That is true. I like that gem right there. For individuals that's listening, that starting to get hopeless, don't feel hopeful, what would you say to them?
Don't give up, because I can tell you, I grew up with a sense of hopelessness.
Yeah.
Even though I had good things happening.
Right.
Embrace the good things. Don't let the bad things, the negative things in your life overwhelm you.
Right.
When you get up in the morning, what I do, the first thing, I don't care if I just roll over in bed and wake up.
Yeah.
Thank you, God.
Yes.
I've got another day.
Yes. Yes.
All right? So look at the good things. Most of the negative things in our lives we can overcome
Right.
if we really put our minds to it.
This is true.
So many times, though, we take this almost like a victim attitude.
Yeah.
Oh, woe is me.
Yeah.
You know, don't do that to yourself.
Right.
Get up.
Yes.
You know, Councilmember Streets, when I was a young officer and he was a new sergeant, he had written a string of letters on the chalkboard.
Right.
That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Chalkboard. And I walked in, I'm looking at it, he says, can't figure it out? And I said, no. And then he pointed out it was the first letter of a word, of a phrase, that said, you can't sell newspapers sitting on your, today I say butt.
Yeah.
Back then they used a different word.
Right, right.
Now this was like 1981.
Yeah, wow.
Somewhere around there.
Right.
And I remember that.
Yeah.
And I tell that to a lot of young people.
Yeah.
That you want something, get up and work for it. I mean, you're a prime example. You didn't sit there waiting for people to give you.
No.
You're out there moving and shaking and making things happen.
Definitely.
Yeah, get up and work for it.
Yes.
And you know, the other example I like to use is prior to me falling and breaking my leg,
right,
I was taking the stairs at City Hall.
Right.
73 steps.
That's a lot of steps.
And every day when I would open the door on the first floor,
right,
and I knew to get to step 73
right,
and the door on the fourth floor,
right,
I had to take step 1.
Yes. Yes.
You know, they say a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step.
Start with one step.
So don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of failure.
Yes.
Failure is a great teacher.
Amazing.
Look at Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
He says he didn't 10,000 times he, working on the filament for the light bulb.
Right.
I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways not to do it.
Right.
So don't be afraid of failure.
Yes.
You know, and like I said earlier, don't let people define you unless it's somebody who's doing it in a positive way.
Right.
Too many times, you know, you get a kid in school and he's maybe he's not athletic, but he's smart.
Right.
Or maybe he's both.
Right.
And the negative crowd wants that person in with them.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that crowd versus the positive crowd seems to be more attractive.
Right.
Don't let those people, because they're gonna rob you of your dreams.
Right. Definitely.
They're gonna keep you from being the successful person you can be.
Right.
Surround yourself with people who want to be successful and want to do good.
Yes. In our closing moment, what would you say to the listeners is your favorite music?
I bounce between 70s and 80s country.
Okay.
But then again, every once in a while, I'll like to find that jazz station.
Yeah.
But for the most part, 70s.
So you talking the Willie Nelson, the Kenny Rogers, the Dolly Parton.
Yeah. Well, you're right on it.
Oh yeah. We used to listen to those.
Yeah.
So.
And then and it's also, if I'm feeling stressed out and I'm driving someplace, putting on classical music, I find can be soothing.
Soothing, yes.
Yeah, and help you just. And then when I feel that stress is gone, then I pop back to the 70s.
I love it. For an individual that is curious how they can meet with the mayor or just get a hold of the mayor office, what does that look like? Where did the plug in?
My information's on the website. You call my office, you'll get a call back.
Beautiful.
I'll warn you, it may not be the same day.
Right.
It may take me a little while.
Yes.
And one of my biggest challenges is the different forms of being contacted.
Yes.
And, all of a sudden I'll check Messenger and see, oh man, 2 weeks ago, and I just hadn't looked at Messenger.
Right.
So,
right.
It's challenging with all the different formats.
Yes.
But the best way really is to call Deanna.
Yes.
239-321-7020.
Beautiful.
Deanna will get it in my hands.
Beautiful.
And I respond, and with the exception of a handful of people who I do not, two things. I don't think it's worth the time,
right,
because they don't want to hear.
Right.
And I also have concerns for the safety of the people in the building.
Yes.
Other than that, everybody who calls and asks for a meeting, They get it.
That's good.
It may only be 15 minutes.
Right.
But they'll get some time.
Yes. Beautiful. Well, there you guys have it. It was beautiful. We took you guys back, and I got to tell you guys, we were intrigued today, and I got to tell you, I am grateful to you, Mayor, for just coming in and sitting down with us and giving us the tale. So until our next episode, where we have another entertaining, decorative guest, right here on Stories to Create. Mayor Anderson, thank you for having me.
Oh, brother.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. That was beautiful.
You know,
Thanks for tuning in and downloading this episode of Stories to Create. We appreciate you being part of this growing community of storytellers and listeners. If today's conversation inspired you, please share the show with friends, family, or anyone who could use a little motivation in their journey. A special thank you to our sponsors, EHAS Organization, Cornell Bunting LLC, and Nostril Cheese Chase for supporting the mission and making this podcast possible. To learn more about our work, upcoming projects, and how you can get involved, be sure to visit www.hisinkorg and www.cornellbunting.com. Until next time, keep creating, keep growing, and remember, your story has power.